guys, I'm Pixel Dan, and the new Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles action figures from Playmates Toys are starting to hit store shelves. I have all four of the turtles here in front of us, but in today's video, we are going to focus solely on Raphael. So as you can see, he's got that brand new Rise of the TMNT style packaging there, very similar to the blister cards we saw in the 2012 series. But on the upper right hand corner, we've got some nice bright animation of Raphael out of the new series. Alongside the edge of the blister here, we've got the character's name, along with a cool little tagline calling him the Muscles, which I love that. It's perfect for Raphael, right? He's always been the muscle of the team. The figure and all of his accessories can clearly be seen inside the blister bubble, and another fun nod on these is the return of the pizza points, something that comes straight out of the vintage toy line, and you can see you can earn prizes by collecting them with details inside the box. Flipping this around to the back side, we've got a nice big bio card there with more animation of Raphael, along with a short bio. Every turtle in this particular series is a different species of turtle, which I think is kind of fun. It's not something we've really seen in the past. So Raphael is a snapping turtle. And instead of the typical size, as you all know by now, they have different weapons this time around. At least at the beginning, Raphael is using the tonfas. And then down below that, we've got to look at all of the figures in this very first series. So, why don't we go ahead and pull Raphael out of the box and get a closer look at him. Alright, we've got our Raphael action figure outside of the packaging, and I want to start things off like I always do, with the scale, where you can see that Raphael comes all the way up to a full 5 inches tall. This makes him quite a bit bigger than the rest of the turtles, which is accurate because Raphael is huge in the new Rise of the TMNT series. He's at 5 inches, Mikey's about 4.25 inches, with Donatello and Leonardo both at 4.5 inches there. So Raph is a pretty good size compared to them. Now I will say he still isn't quite as big as he is in the show. And while they did a pretty good job of making this figure just feel a little bit bigger and a little bit chunkier, he doesn't look quite as hulked out as he appears to be in the series. So I do wish he was a little bit bigger just to really capture the overall size difference that we really see in that new show. But still, I do appreciate this guy being that much bigger. I mean, he's heavier than the other figures. He's a big, solid figure. He just feels much bigger and much chunkier than the rest of those guys. I mean, like, look at him compared to Mikey. Mikey is downright scrawny in comparison to this Raphael figure. So there definitely is a huge difference in the overall design and the styling of Raphael. One of the other big things here, since he's like a big snapping turtle now, he's got the shell that's kind of got like the spikes or the ridges all over it, which is pretty cool looking. And of course, since he's, a little more rough and tumble than the rest, he's got like the little bandage here. That's really something that we've seen a lot since the 2012 series, really, with Raphael having like the crack in the front of his shell and everything. So we got little bandages and everything on Raphael here. But overall, pretty cool looking. Let's go ahead and talk about the articulation on Raphael. Just like the others, he does have the ability to roll his head left and right, kind of rock it all the way around. It's a really tight joint. It is worth noting that his bandana kind of molds in the way that it folds down in the front, and it's kind of meant to look like it's resting on the front of his shell. So when you turn his head, you are going to have moments where it looks a little out of place, but it does look pretty cool, especially when he's facing the way he's supposed to be there. He's got those ball-like joints at the shoulder, so they can go forwards, backwards, outwards, good range of motion there. You got swivels at the elbow, bends at the elbow, and swivels at the wrist here. Nothing in the torso, big chunky torso there with no articulation, but he does have the hinge-like joints at the thighs, so the legs can go outwards, forwards, and backwards. You got the swivel at the knee as well as the bend at the knee. They sculpted the knees where they kind of come down and cover the joints, which is pretty cool. You'll notice he's not wearing knee pads. Instead, he's got like these thigh wraps, so there's no knee pads here. That's a little bit different for a turtle too. But they still sculpted the knee so it covers the joint. I like that quite a bit. That's a pretty cool design. And then you got swivels at the ankle as well as the hinges at the ankle that allow the feet to move forwards and backwards. So really good range of motion here. You can get some real good like squat poses with Raphael, which I like quite a bit there. So of course, for his accessories, he's got 2 ninja stars, just like all of the other turtles, but his brand new weapons are the tonfas. These aren't terribly new to Raphael. I know sais are like his mainstay weapon, but Raph did use tonfas in the original Mirage comics for a while there. So this is a really cool nod to the roots of Raphael. It's pretty neat. So I want to point out, before we put him in his hands, it's worth noting that he does have holsters on his belt. so we can actually store the tonfas at his sides, which I do appreciate. I always like when there's a place to store the weapons, because that is another one of those things that feels like a staple of a Ninja Turtles action figure going all the way back to the original line. Now, the tonfas are made of a bit of a softer, pliable plastic. You can see they're real gummy and real flexible here. So, they're not as stiff and rigid as I'd probably like them to be, but they do pose in the hands pretty well as a result. One of the ways that you want to get them to hold them is kind of, the right way to hold the tonfas would be with the longer stick part being underneath the forearm. His hand sculpts are a little awkward, like they're not really molded in a way that you would expect him to be gripping onto those tonfas, but it's worth noting that because of the pliable plastic that they're made of and the grip between like the index finger and the thumb there, he can still hold onto them and they're not too loose in his hands. So you could still manage to get the correct poses out of those tonfas. Now, his other accessory is pretty cool because they all have like these glowy weapons in the show where they can power them up. So Raphael's versions of the glowy tonfas also includes glowing fists. And the way that this works is we actually want to remove these tonfas from his hands, and then this glowing fist actually fits right over his actual turtle hand. So you just got to kind of like squeeze that in there, just like that, and it totally covers his hand. This is a pretty cool effect, actually. It makes his hands a little bit big looking, like they look oversized, but these are molded in the way where they're holding onto the tonfas the way you'd expect. They got some really cool kind of like flame features coming off, and honestly, I think this is a really cool accessory. He looks really cool with his glowing hands holding onto those translucent red tonfas. So that is a pretty fun accessory. Alright guys, it's comparison time! I want to start by showing him standing alongside the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive version, which was the exact same figure. Now, with all of the other Turtles, the San Diego versions featured a lot more paint deco. With Raph here, there's not a lot of difference. The tonfas themselves have a bit more paint deco, but on the figure, the only difference is he's missing a little painted bandage. Other than that, everything else about him seems exactly the same, so that's pretty cool. And let's go ahead and stand him alongside the 2012 version of Raphael, the original 1988 version of Raphael, the Next Mutations version of Raphael, and finally, the 2003 version. So there you go, my friends. There's a look at the retail release of the brand new Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Raphael. Overall, I like him quite a bit. I've talked about this figure 3 times now because I've done separate videos on all the different versions of this particular figure that I've been able to review, but I do like the overall chunkiness of the figure. I think he's pretty cool looking, and his accessories are awesome. I like the inclusion of the glowing hands on this one. I think that's pretty cool. So these figures are starting to hit retail stores a little bit early. They're supposed to be hitting on October 1st, but places like Walmart and Walgreens are already putting them on store shelves. So happy hunting, my friends. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button, leave me a comment to let me know what you think, and don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, my friends.